Welcome to the Country Hipster Podcast. My name is Paul. I am the Country Hipster. That music you just heard was none other than the Unholy Four and their mega fucking hit, Dirty Knife. Check out the Unholy Four on Bandcamp, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, right? I always forget this.
Napster?
Napster, yeah.
They could
LimeWire,
be, for all I know.
MySpace.
Actually,
have you been on MySpace recently?
I have a MySpace still. I don't know how to get into it, but I actually have some.
MySpace is still a thing. So
Didn't know that.
MySpace is just almost in like last time I was on there, MySpace is like completely just for music now.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
So somebody they're actually tending to it?
Yeah.
I have a Birmingham 6 MySpace, but I don't know how to log into it. I don't know what the login was or anything like
So
that.
Dirty Knife is definitely on MySpace.
I guess.
It might be, yeah.
Maybe,
I mean, if you're saying it's all music.
there you go. It could be.
Find the Unholy Four on Friendster and LiveJournal.
There you go. Actually, I don't think the Unholy Four was around when MySpace was around. So it's also possibly not there. Podcast specific promo code. We are in December. It's Christmas season, which means that the podcast specific promo code is Santa, Santa. Do not spell it Satan. We will not give you any extra credit if you spell Satan instead of Santa.
Speaking of which, I actually just saw a trailer for a movie where a kid writes a letter to Santa but can't spell, so he writes it to Satan.
Yeah.
And then Satan comes up and it's Jack Black.
Yeah. Do you know what that feels like?
Oh yeah.
Maybe that kid's dyslexic. Did you ever think of that? Did you ever think maybe he just mixed up the letters?
It's actually
maybe he knows he's talking to Santa, but happened to write it backwards. Huh?
It's actually Paul's autobiography.
Yeah, you fucking dickhead. Gotta go there, huh? So, if you're watching or listening on Spotify and you scroll down, you can see a link where you can actually pledge support to the podcast. See, we are a listener-supported podcast. So go ahead and click that link and give us money, please. It helps us buy beer and writing lessons to write letters correctly.
Yeah.
To my far right, we're a little backwards today. To my far right,
I just imagine that people have been sending us money for weeks and Paul's just spending it all on himself for reading lessons.
Yes, that's what it is. Nobody's sending us anything. No. That's the problem. So, but to my far right, we are switched up today because I can't hear out of my left ear. It's a long story. You don't want to hear about it. But obviously I can't hear about it either. To my far right is my brother and co-host Adam, and to my immediate right, welcome back, a friend of the podcast. This is a listener pick. We welcome Nick back to the Country Hipster Podcast.
Good to be here as always.
Good to have you back. You've not been here since we did the Beastie Boys. I don't know if it was Licensed to Ill or Ill Communication.
It was Licensed
one of them.
to
We
Ill.
did one of them.
Yeah. Well, you know what happened, right? So we did Licensed to Ill.
Yes.
But when I posted everything, I posted it as
Ill Communication. Yeah. We did. We
and nobody fucking said anything to me.
That's actually a good point.
Again, I thought you did it intentionally because you kept calling it Ill Communication during recording.
Yeah, but that was because I'm an idiot.
I know, and I thought you were just playing along with the fact that you were an idiot.
No.
So yeah, he thought it was tongue in cheek.
Yeah,
it was not.
No, it was not.
Well, that brings up a good point. It's a little bit. I mean, the production value has taken a downturn since last time I was here. Somebody was serving me drinks the last time.
Yeah, I know. Well, this is not,
is that on the budget anymore?
It's not. It's because we don't have any listener support. We couldn't afford the country heartthrob anymore.
You couldn't afford Tom's salary.
You haven't been getting my checks?
Yeah, well, I have.
I've been sending post-dated checks.
Yeah, no, I'm spending it on reading lessons. Yeah. But this is not a booze and vinyl, so otherwise Tom would probably be in the Ottsville Record Garage today. But we are here to talk about a listener pick. Nick is the listener, and he picked Pink Floyd Animals. So before we get into it, I'm just going to go through the factoids. I actually have a decent amount of factoids here.
Is he doing your job?
No. This
is
usually my job.
Okay,
he does. He'll do all the factoids for the listener stuff, except from that one. There was one where you asked me to do it.
Yeah, because I was in the middle of doing shit.
Yeah, no, this was a total role reversal.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, he'll do them for his records and the listener stuff. I'll do them for my records.
Yeah, sometimes the listeners do them themselves. Megan's done the ones herself, so it's like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So, I think Kristen's done for one of her for the random record she was on. We decided not to pick her listener pick. So, it was Belle and Sebastian. Yeah.
Thanks for the suggestion. We're just going to go into we're going to take a random.
We're going
to go random here. Wild card. Let's see what we get.
So Pink Floyd Animals is the 10th studio album for Pink Floyd. It was released on January 21st, 1977. A lyrical departure from previous released Animals is a concept album that focuses on the social political conditions of the mid-1970s Britain. No singles, funny enough, were released from Animals, but it was promoted through the In the Flesh tour. That tour and Roger Waters' agitation with audiences during the tour inspired and led to their next album, The Wall. Also, Waters experienced a stomach bug and some severe cramping before a show at the Philadelphia Spectrum in 1977.
Spectrum.
And the Spectrum. Oh, sorry, I'm there you go.
There you go.
And there was a shady doctor who they called in and injected him with tranquilizers to help him perform. Waters and David Gilmour went on to write a song about the experience, which appeared on their next album. The album is The Wall, and the song is Comfortably Numb. Was formed in the city of Philadelphia, the great city of Philadelphia. For this recording, they actually bought a building and converted it into a studio, which became known as Britannia Road Studios. They did this because they had they're part of their contract with, I think it was Harvest Records, who was and their parent company was EMI. They had it in their contract for their previous recordings that they would take less in royalties.
I had an EMI once. I had to drink a bunch of cranberry juice.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. So they would take less in royalties, so they could have unlimited studio time. But that part of their contract was running out. So instead of redoing the contract, so they would get all the royalties, they just built their own fucking studio. So Animals was the first one to be recorded at Britannia Row Studios.
Also, I feel like that's a thing that like we see with older stuff that I feel like we don't hear about a lot now recently, is like people renting out like these big fucking rooms and like renting out like a house or something in like the country to fucking record an album.
But the thing is, though, in a lot of those situations, the record label is actually still paying for it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They're still paying for the rental, for the recording, for the engineers, all that kind of stuff.
You probably saw an uptick in that over COVID, not for obvious reasons. People weren't going to studios. They probably did record in some unique locations and all that.
Yeah.
But there are some classic records that have been famously recorded, like Blood Sugar Sex Magic, like some mountain house that the Chili Peppers did. Yeah, so definitely not something you hear about as much.
One of the best stories I have from that is actually they talk about it in the movie 24-Hour Party People. Is the Happy Mondays went to Factory Records, rented them a place in like the islands somewhere like Bahamas or Jamaica or some shit like that. And so they all went there to record the album. And they didn't record anything. They just got fucking drunk and high the whole time. And then like they're like, "Hey, where's the recording?" They were like, "Oh fuck, we don't have anything.
We're sending you to Trenton next time."
Yeah, exactly.
No fun. Like putting you in a warehouse.
Yeah. So this album consists of 5 tracks. 2 were previously released on Wish You Were Here, which are Raving and what the fuck is my writing say? Fuck.
They were previously recorded.
Right.
They were tracks that did not make Wish You Were Here.
Yeah, one is You Gotta Be Crazy, Raving and Drooling. Thank you. And so they were reworked into Sheep and Dogs for this album.
You just made me super nervous because you said the names of those songs. I'm like, they were not on the fucking album I listened to.
I listened to the wrong record, right?
They were also separated. Those 2 songs were also separated by Pigs. 3 of them, in fact. Pigs on the Way, Part 1. Pigs. 3 different ones, 3 different pigs right here, and then Pigs on the Way Part 2. The cover was taken at Batheria, I don't know, whatever, some power station in England. And for the album cover, they actually built a 40-foot big pig balloon, and they filled it with helium, and they were flying it over the thing, and they had it like tethered down and whatnot. So apparently what they did was on the second day, so their plan was to put this giant fucking pig balloon above the building so they could take the pictures of the thing. They had it for 3 days, and there was like bad weather and shit like that. And for whatever reason, the manager of Pink Floyd did not hire a sharpshooter for the second day. And the reason they had a sharpshooter was in case the tethers broke, he could shoot down the balloon because Heathrow Airport was not that far away. Heathrow, whatever. Heathrow, Heath Ledger, I don't know, whatever. Heath Ledger Airport. Heath Ledger.
Sure.
So at any rate, on the second day, the tethers broke and the pig went flying, and they ended up having to cancel flights, and flights were delayed, and eventually it, ironically enough, landed in a farm in Kent, in England, and apparently the farmer was very pissed off that it scared his cows.
And that pig toured with them.
Oh, did he?
They used to fly it around the arenas and everything.
Nice.
During the shows back then.
It's something I wouldn't even think of. Like, oh yeah, we got a big ass fucking balloon. You guys hire somebody with a gun?
Yeah.
It doesn't even.
Well, here's the funniest thing about it is they ended up just superimposing the pig on the cover anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Like in my head now, every single Macy's parade, there's some guy. There's like every 3 blocks, there's a fucking dude with a rifle.
There's a
just
sharpshooter.
You find like, oh, this guy must be like Secret Service or like, no,
I'm
here
here
to
to shoot the
balloon.
balloon.
Yeah. I'm the balloon guy.
If Snoopy gets buck wild, I'm taking him down.
Just darts in here. Just darts. There's no bullets. That's all I got.
So, like I said, no singles were released from this album.
Too damn long.
Right.
Songs.
Yeah, right. But even with that, with no singles being released and basically the promotion of the album being the tour, it still went 4 times platinum in the US, selling over 4 million copies, and worldwide has sold over 5.5 million copies, as per the Wikipedia and whatever time that was written. I'm sure it's sold more copies since then. How are we on beers?
Can I have one?
Are you?
I'll take it.
All right, so we got special beers here before we get into feelings. So it is December. It is Christmas time. So it is time for a Fuzzy Wigs Ale.
I didn't know it was out yet.
Yes, yes. So we did not have this last week on the Christmas episode, but that was November. This is December now. So yes, so I made sure that I told these guys, I have a special beer for when we all need a beer. And it is my favorite Christmas beer, one of my favorite beers, the Sam Adams Fuzzy Wig Ale. Yes, cheers. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to everybody who celebrates. God, I love it. I love the Fuzzy Wig Ale.
Yeah.
All right, so Nick, you are the listener. This was your pick. Why this album?
It's amongst my favorite records, period.
You're leaning back, sir.
Right out of the gate. Well, you know what? You got it out of the way.
Here's your time to shine, Nick. All right. Let me tell you what I think about this.
I got it out of the way. I'll only do it 5 or 6 more times.
There you go. Thank you.
So, Animals was, when I got into Floyd, the usual. I think I was turned onto The Wall first by my dad. He used to, that was his favorite records. Like in the car, we would listen to, that kind of stuff. So I was familiar with The Wall. And then, of course, Dark Side of the Moon, especially the radio tracks from Dark Side of the Moon. And as I went, as I was in, after high school, started getting a little diving deeper, I found Animals, and like immediately it was just like, because, they had that stretch of records that came out. It was like just Murderer's Row was, in whatever order, Dark Side, Wish You Were Here, Animals, it was all around the same, period of time. It's just, obviously what a body of work, but Animals is one of those where it's like your casual Pink Floyd fan probably isn't familiar with Animals in its entirety. You know what I mean? Because again, the ones that I mentioned, Wish You Were Here, Dark Side and all that, and
that's real quick, not to like start a conversation another way, but I'm gonna steer it another way.
Go for it.
The top 3, this is what I call
your pictures on the sticker.
All right,
you can do whatever the fuck
you are the country fucking hipster.
Sometimes I am, yeah. So the Pink Floyd, the big 3, right? I always call them the big 3, and I don't know if we're in agreement with this. It would be Dark Side of the Moon, Wish You Were Here, and The Wall.
Yeah,
I definitely would not put this on their big 3.
So I look at that big 3. I say yes, I agree, but I agree that's the big 3 that I think everybody would agree on.
Yes.
For me, love The Wall. I have again my roots of The Wall. But The Wall for me, because of Animals, falls to 4, maybe 5 for me. It's an insanely good record, but you're talking about Pink Floyd. They're all great. They're all amazing records. But
I don't know, some of that real early shit.
An acquired taste. Sid Barrett stuff was definitely an acquired taste, and then the stuff at the end, like, you know what I mean, was not everybody's favorite.
Yeah,
but I enjoyed
some of this.
I like the final cut. I like that stuff was really good. Anyway, but Animals was just like, for me, one of the things that stood out with Animals, where I think some of the other records were more musically amazing. There's some great lyrics.
Okay.
For me, with Animals. Now, it's obviously the whole Orwell thing, Animal Farm.
Yep.
I don't read if you can't.
I don't know how to. So
I don't read good, and I've never been a book guy, so I've never read Animal Farm.
Read well.
It's really fucking bad.
The fucking dyslexic guy
Paul is correcting
taking
you.
me to school here, for Christ's sake.
All right,
I've been taking lessons.
Go sit in the corner.
So early on. So so I don't have, like, I get the gist of Animal Farm. I know what it's about and all that. So you obviously, there's that theme running through this record. But there's some really cool and deep lyrics and themes with this record, but just musically, one of my absolute favorite things to listen to.
So we'll get back to Animals, but of the top three, and we're talking the big three, we're not including Animals in the big three,
I got you.
which I don't disagree with you. Like, I'd almost call Animals 3B.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would agree with you, though. The Wall definitely it belongs in that era. Like, that's, yes.
So of those three, which one would you say is your favorite?
Of the top, it would be so hard for me not to say Dark Side of the Moon. I don't think I could.
I think I'm right there.
I don't think I could, because it's such, like, you don't want to be, in music, there's a weird thing amongst fans where it's like, you don't want to like the most popular song.
Yeah.
You kind of like want to be edgy and like it's that good.
It's a great album.
It doesn't belong in that, it's its own entity. When you talk about music, when you talk about records, it kind of has its own space in that conversation.
And I know you got the movie The Wall, which
the movies
is great, but
have people to go their whole lives without watching, what's his name from the Boomtown Rats, who played the what's his name? Shave his nipples off,
exactly.
So that's an experience. But you could obviously never see the movie, and it's okay.
I fucking never put that together. That was the dude from the Boomtown Rats.
Yeah,
what the fuck is his name? He's also did it. Tell me why I don't like Mondays. That guy. He's the fucking Live Aid dude.
And who would his co-star in that the Wall movie? The agent Bob Hoskins played the greasy agent that
There you go.
So anyway,
So Adam, of the three big Pink Floyd, the three Pink Floyd albums that matter, we'll say.
That's not entirely, because I would there are days where I would put Metal in my top. It would nearly break my top three.
Metal would never. I don't mind Metal, but it would not hit. It would not hit anywhere near the top three for me. Adam, of those three albums, which ones do you? Which one's your favorite?
Of the top three, I own two of them.
Okay.
And I might have to go. I'd probably have to go with Nick and also go Dark Side.
Yeah, I think of the three,
it's
Dark
hard.
Side's like
Yeah, and I would, and here's what I'll say. In addition to all the three of us, consensus saying,
were you guys talking about Bob Geldof?
Thank you, Bob Geldof. Thank you very much.
Yes, lead singer. He was the guy that helped orchestrate Live Aid and all that stuff. So,
Sir Bob Geldof.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, if he hasn't, he should be knighted. But yeah, no. So with that said.
Were you talking about Bob Hoskins?
Yeah, he plays the agent. Yeah, he's Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
So, the late
Roger Rabbit. Is Roger Rabbit dead?
No.
Bob
Hoskins is dead.
Oh, Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins.
Yeah.
2014.
Yeah. But on the same token, there, I would not. If you ask anybody that question. Mm-hmm. Whatever their answer is an acceptable answer. Those three records are, you know what I mean? They're very much, belong up there by themselves.
Cool. All right. So back to Animals. I know I kept throwing you off there. So So
just like I said, from start to finish, I'm sure we're going to go into, detail, but just the way that it starts and ends, very cool, pretty unique in that way. But the concept, I love a concept album.
Mm-hmm.
Love a concept album. The concept album for me is great because I'm not typically going to get in my car and just put on Money or Sheep or what, I'm going to either listen to Dark Side or I'm going to listen to Animals, because it doesn't kind of feel right when it's by itself. It's because it belongs to this body of work. But this is among the greatest concept records ever made, I think.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Adam, what do you think of this album?
So Paul had originally texted me to remind me. Every once in a while, I think we've talked about it on the podcast before. I'll be like, "Hey, what's the track listing? Like, which version of this am I supposed to be listening to?" So Paul sent me a text and said, 5 songs, 42 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, all right, songs are like, averaging like 8 minutes. And then I first put the album on and the first song is a minute and a half. I'm like, well, fuck.
Put your seatbelt on.
Yeah, I was like, Jesus Christ. On the whole, I enjoyed this album. That being said, I don't know if I'm smart enough or stoned enough to get this album, but I enjoy it.
Fair.
I definitely, we'll probably keep this in a regular rotation. Wouldn't mind having a copy of it. But yeah, on the whole, it's a good record. I like Paul's bitched about in the past about song, like he tends to favor song like the shorter songs on the album.
They don't exist on this one.
Yeah, that don't exist on this at all. While listening to it, like everyone's like Dogs especially. I feel like Dogs starts and stops. Like there are like 3 songs in Dogs.
Yeah,
like
100%.
so like that song just starts and stops, and I'm like, and that's why I think that I'm not smart enough to get it, because like if I was making this album, that's Dogs would be 3 songs.
It almost plays like a symphony. It plays like an overture, like where it has parts.
When I was listening to it on the way up here for to narrow down my top 3, which is half the album.
Right.
I was listening to it and it made me think of the line from Dewey Cox where it's like it's not even a song, it's like a concerto.
That's very true. Yeah.
But yeah, like,
can I ask you something though? Mm-hmm. Were you aware of, before you listened to it, presumably for the first time or the first time in a long time in its entirety, going into it, did you know what it was tied in with like Orwell and Animal Farm? So that's an interesting take.
Yeah.
Right. So if you know, like, knowing that now, and if you go and look into that and then listen to it again, I feel like it'll be a different listen for you.
And that's the thing, like going like
the themes. So I was leaning back.
Oh no.
So going into it, I didn't know this album at all. I remember
and that's easy to do with this record. I feel like even if you didn't know Dark Side in its entirety, you would know Money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing with The Wall. You would know
Comfortably Numb.
You would know a handful
Another
of songs.
Brick in the Wall.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but this album, I don't think there's any one song that is widely known by everybody as a Pink Floyd song. No, I think it's unique that way.
Yeah, so I wouldn't consider myself a huge Pink Floyd fan.
Mm-hmm.
I probably tend to stick to the big 3 as we refer to them.
Yeah.
So I remember when like Paul had sent me the list and he had like, I was looking, I'm like, what the fuck is Animals? Like, I don't know what the fuck that is at all.
Yeah.
Unlike these 2, I've actually read Animal Farm. I've seen the made-for-TV movie version of Animal Farm.
Did you see the cartoon?
I did see the cartoon. Yes,
okay.
I've seen the live action and the cartoon version of it.
So you should, so that would be knowing that,
like, not knowing the album, but knowing that I guess if you want to call it source material.
Sure, yeah.
It started to make more sense. But yeah, I had never heard this album before. Enjoyed it, but like I said, like I don't think my brain is at a point where like it understands this album.
Okay.
But I enjoy this album. Like I said,
You're the only one that actually read the book.
Yeah.
your brain's way better than ours.
I used to be an English major.
There you go. Yeah, no, you're.
But yeah, so like I said, it's good. This will probably end up somehow in a regular rotation. If this ever comes available at the Ottsville Record Garage, let me know.
Okay.
Because I will definitely pick up a copy of this. Definitely enjoyable. Like I said, it threw me off, and I was like, in my head went, oh yeah, 5 songs, 40 minutes, 8 minutes, and then the first song is a minute and a half, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, what the fuck is Nick making me listen to?
Yeah. You were in for it.
And I was a little bit standoffish when I first saw that. I'm like, fuck, dude, what the hell? Like, what am I getting into? And then that was immediately out the door, like when I was listening to it and enjoying it. I'm a big fan. In general, big fan. I don't know if it would break into the big 3 for me, but it's definitely, like you said, 3B.
Yeah,
definitely.
So, and I'm going to say that, right? And I stand by that. I stand by, like, I kind of put it right behind
Sure.
the wall,
Yeah.
right? But I also find this album kind of pointless.
In what way?
So I'll say I don't hate it, right?
Okay.
I just said I would put it kind of like right
Mhm.
behind the wall, but it's 5 tracks, 2 of which are basically reworked songs, and like 2, 3, and 4 of them are like tracks. 2, 3, and 4 of them are basically 10 to 17-minute long jam sessions, and I fucking hate that shit.
Yeah.
I will say this that listening to this album again, like and when I saw this on the list, I was like, fuck yeah, we're gonna do Animals. Like when you put that in there, I'm like, oh, that's gonna be a great one to do, and we're gonna do it because I've heard Animals before. I've listened to Animals before. I've sold Animals before.
Yeah.
I've actually sold a copy you've given me, I'm sure too.
Yes.
And this is where I was familiar with the album, but that's also where I realized I never delved into Animals and made me actually feel better about how I'm grading records at the Outsville Record Garage. And I'm going to get into that one second. It's like, so if a record can resell over a certain value, right? I generally will listen to it unless it's like some really, really off the wall avant-garde jazz or like classical or something like that.
Because why would anybody want to listen?
Exactly. You know, if it's something I really just don't want to listen to, I'll visually grade it, but I'll say it's visually graded. But I realize too, like from listening to this week, is that, and I'm glad, is that when I'm listening to those records, I'm listening to the quality of the vinyl, not the content of what is on it.
Right.
So as
It's not a listening session.
Exactly.
You're testing the quality of a record.
So I've had this in the Outsville Record Garage several different times, used copies. I've listened to this album several different times, used copies, and thought, oh, I like this album. This is pretty good. I've never listened to it, though. I've just listened to it to see, does it skip? Is it staticky?
I didn't even think of it that way. I didn't think of it in that way, and that's a huge difference.
And it's like I like it, but it's just like I don't hate it though. I'm really just kind of indifferent to the album, and I realize that when I finally have now delved into the album and listening to it, and like I said, it made me feel good about like my grading, because I'm like, okay, no, that is really how I'm supposed to be grading records. Because ultimately, I look at it this way: if someone's going to buy a record, or from me, I don't really care if they like it or hate it or like whatever. If it's like something I don't like, I don't care, just as long as you're happy with what you know what I mean. Sure. I don't like every style of music out there, but if it's going to be a certain price, I want to make sure you're getting a quality record.
Of course.
Quality in the sense of you're buying a record that sounds good, not the shit that's on the vinyl.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so it's good. I will say, recording wise, this is fucking amazing. So it is recorded so fucking well.
But in a way, so this is something interesting that has come up. Do you sell the newer the copy that just came out last year with the alternate cover? It's like a grayed out.
I honestly am so behind on new releases. I probably don't have it.
Either way,
but
if you look at it, it just came out last year. I think, or earlier this year. And what they did was they completely remixed it, and they basically polished it up.
Really?
And it's.
Because I don't think
I've only there's the thing. If you listen to the original, which we all have, and then you go and listen to this not reworked, but this polished version of it that they just put out, a lot of people are not digging it because it sounds too clean. Like there was a not a muddiness, because that's a bad term to use for vinyl, but like there was a haze to this record. There was a certain sound to it that kind of complimented.
So like I wrote my notes on this. Now I have only listened, like when we were listening this past week, I only listened to it digitally. I only listened to it on Spotify in my car or like whatever. And it's one of the few albums that comes through digitally almost as good as it's on the vinyl.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And that's because of the way they recorded it. It's because of the way they mixed it.
Recording,
You do the panning of the drums, like where you hear like a roll and it goes from left to right and then the back again. It's like, fuck.
There's also something on this record that I absolutely love, and I listened to it on my way up digitally, obviously. And you get some of these singers that do, or some of these bands that do it, where there's a vocal note that fades into the synth, like perfectly.
Yep.
And that's you get that a few times on this record, which I really love that.
And that is one of the things with this album is just like, and I feel like the way they recorded this album, the way they mixed this album, that it sounds like you're actually in a small room with the band listening to the play. You know,
the standout for me in that regard is the acoustic guitar on Pigs on the Wing 1 and 2.
Yes.
As soon as that guitar strums, you feel like the person playing it is sitting directly across from
exactly.
you.
And
it's such a rich, warm acoustic guitar.
Yeah. And that is the thing, and that's one of the things I do really like about the album, which is why I put it up there with the wall, because the production quality of it is so fucking good. Yeah. It's just so it really is. It just hits you, and you know, and not even like, oh, it's like I'm seeing them live in concert. No, it's like literally they're in a small room, set up like you know,
it's like a good jazz record. It's a good jazz record. Yeah,
that's what I like about it. Honestly, like I actually, and Nick, I want before we I'm going to make this statement, and then I want you to tell us about it. I actually want to come over to your house and listen to this album
on my
your listening room.
Done.
So explain to our audience what your listening room is.
So we can actually do that very easily, because my copy of Animals is actually in my music room right now, as opposed to being here where it's supposed to be. I goofed, but no. So my listening room, which I am very grateful to still have a listening room in a Northeast Philly row house with 2 kids. Like, so my listening room used to be in my middle bedroom, and then, as I mentioned, 2 kids. So I get the boot. I got my basement, and me and my brother, we built a wall, appropriately enough. So we built a wall, and I have a playroom for my girls, and I have a playroom for me. So my music room is very small. It's about 10 by 12.
Yep.
So I am roughly like 6 feet and change from my speakers.
Yep.
So it's a pretty tight space, but it's the speakers that I have, I feel like play the room really nicely because they have an upward firing bass port. So I can push them up against the wall. It doesn't bother them at all. But yeah, no, it's my music room, small as it is completely a patchwork of concert posters from all the shows that I've been to. I don't have room for all the ones that I have. I'm gonna start putting them on the ceiling, I think.
There you go.
But no, it's just my it's my space. It's my
and
I really enjoy it.
And I have listened to records in there.
Yeah.
It is really the perfect like listening room
and I have a very modest setup as far as hi-fi goes. Like, obviously I don't have the kind of money to buy like, you know, crazy, but if you set it up right and you care for it right, and you don't need to spend amazing.
You don't need to spend a ton of money. Yeah, absolutely.
It's one thing I like. I like when Nick is on the podcast, because I like listening to you talk about what we're listening to, because you listen to it in a different way that I listen to it. Sure. I would, like, if someone asked me to describe you, I would describe you as an audiophile. Just the way you described your speakers.
But he's not a crazy audiophile.
No, you're not a crazy one.
I would say you're an audiophile too, but you're not a crazy audiophile.
Just the way you described your speakers.
Budget audiophile.
Yeah. But like you're listening to it like you strike me as
intentional listening.
You have records that like you don't care for the music, but you're listening to it as
that's part. There's a part of it that is that
like you're listening to it like, as Paul said, like the sound quality of this record is great. You're listening to stuff for the sound of it, not for the content of it.
Well, I mean, I absolutely am listening for content, but once you get to a certain point of, like, you know, building your gear, your setup, and collecting records, I used to have all my records I got from thrift stores, you know, dollar bins when I was a kid, like just buying what I could get.
Yep.
And you don't realize how shitty they sound because they still sound great.
Yeah,
because they do. Like, the source material is great. So even with a shitty needle that you didn't know was shitty, that you're destroying your records with, I started there. That's where I started. You get somebody gives you what happened with me was with my job. I'll say this: I'm in and out of people's houses a lot, so like I get into conversations with people, and over the years, people have very graciously like given me things that are just like sitting on a shelf somewhere. They maybe were putting out for trash. Like, so that's how I got my first like upgraded turntable. It's like this lady was about to throw out an old like Panasonic like set you would get at Sears. So that was an upgrade from the shitty plastic whatever I had.
So, and that's the thing. And actually, we talked about it on the De La Soul episode where we had the interview with Andre Jonathan. He when they were doing the tour for Booze and Vinyl, they were in basically a big van and they were pushing Crosley turntables, and people say, "Oh, Crosley, so shit, it'll destroy your records." And he said it very nicely, because it's like, in a way, yeah, that's how you start. Like it's like
Everybody
Crosley
starts there,
is the
yeah.
gateway drug to
Yes.
the rest of the
Like you
the other
need
shit.
more people to buy these Crosley turntables and start buying records, because what that will ultimately do for most people is it's going to push them in that direction.
Mhm.
They're going to want it. This is what happens. And I hate to say this because this is just how the internet works. Then
Yep.
you're going to start watching content
Yep.
on YouTube, on Instagram, whatever your platform is. You're going to start following people in the what is termed as the VC, the vinyl community, and you're going to be like, oh, I really like the way that person talks. I like what they had to say. They're listening to the same stuff that I'm listening to.
Uh-huh.
And then they'll get into their gear and stuff, and you're like, oh, I could, I could afford that. I could upgrade my turntable, my cartridge, whatever. That's how it starts. And again, what you're ultimately, to go back to the way that Adam described the way that I listen to music, it is that way. It has become that way.
Mm-hmm.
It's always going to be about the music. It's always going to be about the source material. But there are those times when I genuinely will go, because that's what your ultimate goal is to put yourself into that room where that record was recorded.
Yep.
The closer you can get to that sound.
Yes.
To sitting in that room is what you want to hear, whether that's the reel, whether that's the vinyl, the original vinyl, but that's,
and that is one of the things that I think is captured on this album. As much as I think I've missed the artist statement on this. I don't know if I need to just get really high and close my eyes and just experience the album. Okay, maybe that's what we do when we're in your listening room there. But like sonically, it's absolutely amazing, yes. and I think that is one of the greatest things about this album. And I don't know that there's many albums like that where I could say that it hits it, that it feels that way. I think, you know what I mean? Especially that we've covered on this podcast. I can't think of any other album, with maybe the exception of the and not even the whole album. Some of the songs on Stardust, I kind of feel like I'm in the room, but not the album as a whole.
And you get that. So to go back to something we just brought up, was like the closer you get to that source material. And I will say this too: it has never been a better time to be a record collector.
Oh,
seriously,
absolutely, yes.
What they're doing with these reissues now, like I know there for years there was this I don't want to say taboo about like reissues, but there was people would turn their nose up sometimes at reissues where, you got to have an original. You got to, well, truth be told, especially if you're listening to jazz records, you're never going to own an original. Nope. They're thousands of dollars if you can find them in good shape. Yeah. But they are literally going back to the original analog tapes with the best mastering engineers in the business, and they're mastering these for vinyl, and they're pressing them at the best facilities on the best vinyl. You can get these records for $25 to $35.
Blue Note's doing the whole
and that's just
series.
one example.
Yeah,
but like all these new pressings that they're doing of rock records and everything else, like it is such a good time to go buy a Crosley turntable and start buying $25 records.
Absolutely,
fill in your collection
and just go from there and just build it from there.
Enjoy it. But this record for sure is something that you will ultimately appreciate way more if you either have a good pair of headphones on and you sit there and intently listen to this record. You're going to enjoy yourself.
Yep, absolutely. And that is the main thing, and that is the thing that did catch me like the most. Listen to like that grab me is like, again, I'm not huge on long songs as it is. It's just I'm not big on them. I just think they get boring. And a lot, like especially the 3 songs that are actually on this album, they're all kind of very similar in style and similar in what they do on them. They're definitely 3 distinct different songs, but they're all very much alike. Like you can tell
the theme is alive in all. Exactly.
But like it just, again, listening to it now as delving into the album, I'm like, I'm just indifferent. Like, and again, I don't hate it. I just don't like it.
You couldn't possibly hate something that sounds as good as this
and that's the thing too. And that is my biggest takeaway of this album, is just how fucking good it sounds. Even just digitally, it sounds so fucking
I don't think it's a good record for like if you're gonna put it on to like work. Oh, there's going to be a counter on this video. I know there's going to be a counter on this video. How many times I'm in the back when I talk? No, but yeah, it's just that, just that this kind of record where I do think when you sit down, whether it's your, get a beer or a glass of whiskey, or, if you smoke, it does make it more enjoyable because you're sitting down with the intention of listening to this entire record. I'll take one more in there. Okay. But yeah, I think once you get, like, hey, I'm buckling in to listen to this whole record, right? Like, as opposed to you're just doing stuff around the house. I'm going to listen to this, and because I'm again, I'm gonna chill out by myself. You can get into it that way. That's the kind of way. That's the way you have to listen, I think, to this record here.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to come down, and we're gonna have to do that because like I said, maybe I will, maybe I'll feel different about it overall in that situation.
Anytime.
I don't know that I will, but again, that's what I'm saying. Like,
some really great guitar work on this record.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Musicianship is great, and it's just like I said. I'm just like, So
yeah, you're wrong, but I hear you. I hear you.
So Paul, you're kind of Nick obviously loves this album. I enjoy this album, but our opinions don't matter.
No, they don't.
They do not.
Who does matter?
The smallest among us.
The smallest, the sweetest little baby angel who was sleeping when I got here.
Yeah, she's not now.
What does Regina think of this album?
Well, first of all, Regina is very much entering her terrible twos.
Yeah,
she's like fucking head on into her terrible twos. Oh yeah.
It's
So
fucking worse.
It's fun. Actually, hold on a second. What is today's date?
Today's December 5th.
It's fucking Regina's birthday.
Is it?
Wait a minute. Whoops. Minor details.
This is what happens when you record 3 to 4 weeks in advance.
Was she that early in December?
Yes, December 5th. Today, December 5th is Regina's birthday.
Happy birthday, Regina!
Happy birthday, Regina!
She is officially 2 years old today. So
what did I get her?
I don't know. What did you get her? So wow, I just put that together.
There we go.
There you go. What you should not get her is this album.
Yeah, no,
because
I can see this being a bit busy for him.
Much like these, but that's the thing. She didn't hate it. She was just flat out indifferent to it. We only got a chance to listen to it twice. First time she just fell asleep, and the second time she just.
Well, she was high.
She was high. Yes.
She was pretty high at the time.
The second time she just wasn't into it. You know what I mean? It was just kind of and again it was playing and it was on and she was just in the car and just staring off. It's kind of like, okay, all right, this is what
it's
what's
easy
happening.
Music to ignore if it's in the background. Like it really is. It's not. You know what I mean? It's not captivating unless you are intently listening.
Exactly. And so I will say that it is an indifferent for Regina. So that brings the listeners at 2 likes, 1 dislike, and 3 indifference. 3 indifference.
I think you count the indifference.
We count the indifference. Yeah, absolutely. Adam, you are still at 5 likes and 1 dislike. I am at 6 likes, 1 dislike, and 1 indifferent. And Tom is at 3 likes on the Regina factor. So, Adam, top 3.
Like I said, picking a top 3 for this album is literally just picking half the album. So I'm going in let's call them the big 3 of the album.
Song.
I'm just going in reverse order. I'm going sheep, pigs, dogs.
Nice.
Okay.
Yes.
Nick?
It's really difficult. I love the album the way that it exists is I love it that way. So I would say in the same way, like I would just right down the line with dogs, pigs, and then sheep.
Okay.
They're all great. They're for their own reasons, but I like the way that the album is presented. Okay. And Pigs on the Wing, let's face it, is basically an intro, outro, which is wonderful, but it's not you're not going to pick. I mean, it is. Hey, I guess you could pick that as your favorite part of the album, but it's a nice intro, nice outro. But
sounds like Paul did.
No. Would you? What would you say your least is?
I couldn't.
You don't even have
there isn't. There's 5 songs and 2 of them aren't even a song put together. Right. So it's like you can't. There's no fat on this record.
Right. Which is why I have no favorites. I have no least. It's just
and if nothing else, you have been across the board. Just
And like I said, I don't hate it. There's nothing on this album where I'm like, oh my god, this is great, or what the fuck is this? Nothing on this. It's just kind of like. Okay. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm just like, all right, if I had to lean towards favorites, it would probably be Pig on the Wing Part 1 and Part 2. You know what I mean? If I had
really
to lean
cool
towards
acoustic
favorites.
songs.
Yeah. But like,
they're fun. I used to be able to stick around with those. They're fun songs to play.
But like I said, I don't hate anything on this album. I don't overwhelmingly like anything on this album, especially with 5 tracks. It's really hard to pick a top 3 and a, you know what I mean, and a least anyway. So I'll say, all right. So on to the Discogs value. Now, Nick does own a copy of this record, which he said he did not bring with
us today.
So we went a couple different ways with this, right? So even though Nick didn't bring his copy with me, he did actually send me over what his copy is. So I know exactly what he has. He has a 77 pressing. It's just a general pressing. It's a gatefold copy, right? And then so I have that, and then I did how we're doing for the listener picks is I'm taking 5 different pressings and I'm getting an average. Now I'm pulling a caveat here, and I don't care if you disagree with this or not. Okay, since Nick actually. Like you guys said, I am the country hipster.
Yeah, I say your picture's on the logo.
Right. Yeah,
so.
yeah. So
I just show up and drink beer.
Yes. So because Nick actually has a copy of this record, we're going to go off of that Discogs value. Okay. So what I'm going to tell you first that for the average of the listeners, so I got a 79 repressing, a different 77 gatefold pressing, an 83 reissue, which was a Pittman pressing, a 77 Santa Maria pressing, and a different 77 Pittman pressing. So the average price for the Very Good Plus value, if we were going by average, would be at $86. But that's not what we're doing here because Nick actually owns the album. And so Nick's 77 gatefold Very Good Plus value on this album is $139.
Which I still have I genuinely have a hard time believing. I mean, I know I've seen the data, so I mean, but that's crazy too.
I will say that the other 77 gatefold, which is a different pressing, has different edgings on it, that actually had a Very Good Plus value of $153.
Oh wow!
So that one was even. It was a different pressing.
I missed it when the album came out.
77.
Okay.
77. So with the older pressings do tend to be worth more. The 83 pressing that I picked was like
I'm sure
that was like $50.
I'm sure the 77 UK pressings.
Oh, they're probably
fetch a
even
few
more. I didn't even get into those.
Yeah.
I generally just look at the
But
US
I will
pressings.
tell you with plenty of experience that the 77 US pressings sound really great.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they do. So, so Very Good Plus value on this is $139. Doesn't necessarily mean it would sell for $139.
But the fact that it would sell, like to me, like this is a record that if you're a fan of Pink Floyd, you should own this record. It's but the fact that that's crazy to me.
Well, it's funny you said it. Okay, so as indifferent as I am to this album, if I come across a shitty copy that like maybe has one skip in it or a repeat or just isn't as good of a copy, I'm probably going to keep it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Rather than sell it, I would probably keep it. I probably would not make it a $2 John, which is what I'll do with a lot of the albums. That if it has a skip, I just sell it as a $2 John. I would keep this. So as indifferent as I am to it, like I'm not opposed to owning it. I'm not going out of my way though.
If I ever find the Japanese copy that I want, you will be getting my 77.
Yeah, except that yours is going to be good, and I'm going to sell it. So, so that's
true. That's true.
Yeah. So that brings the listeners' total up to $429.
Okay.
I am still in the lead for the Big D with $786. Adam drops to 3 now with $419. The listeners have taken a $10 lead on you.
Yeah, not by much though. I mean,
not by much. And Tom is at $162 on the.
He will never get the D.
He might.
I'm worried about Tom.
Oh, he's got a couple coming up.
So Tom's picks are from Booze and Vinyl.
And yes, he's getting the.
He's got some shit that has potential to to be.
There's some stuff that we're doing
average.
Booze and Vinyl this season.
Oh, so all the listener picks and all the Booze and Vinyl picks you're averaging. You're not going off of what Tom has.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Booze and Vinyl picks are averages unless the Booze and Vinyl happens to be our copies and he gets the credit for it. So like De La Soul was one of my records. Right, but it was also Booze and Vinyl, so he got. So
how did the last one I was on work out? Because I brought my original License to Ill, but it was a Booze and Vinyl. Did you use mine at all as an average or no? Because
I think yours was actually one of the pressings that I was taking in. For
it got factored in.
Yeah. So in those cases,
I was surprised at what that was worth.
Yeah. So I think that was the deal there, or maybe I changed the rules mid-season. I don't know. I could do that.
Yeah, but he can do what he wants.
My face is on the fucking logo.
Exactly, hipster. To my left.
All right, so I am going to grab the box of Mike here with Michael Stripe. Adam, hold some dick.
Hold some dick.
All right, he's all dick. So I think that's our first dick joke of the evening.
Probably.
Nice. Look at it. So reach in.
We're growing.
Like a dick. Just one. All right. Nick, you want to open it or you want me to open it?
Why not?
Go for it. You open that one.
What number we got?
20.
20. This is going to be next week's episode.
Let me lean forward so I don't get yelled
Yes,
at
yes,
and
please
descended
do.
upon by the host of the show.
Did you ever put your hand up, Michael Stripe?
I have not. I have not. Oh, this is me. This is me.
Skinny Lister.
Oh, nice.
Shanty Punk. All right, friends of the podcast, Skinny Lister. This is my pick. This is one of mine.
No, let's best friends of the podcast.
Best friends of the podcast.
They were kind enough to grace us with an interview. Best friends of the podcast.
Best friends of the podcast.
You want to throw Michael Stripe back up there?
So, oh yeah, sorry. God damn you people.
Yeah, it's what happens when you fucking sit on that end of the table,
I
motherfucker.
know.
Michael Stripe stuck.
But at least I could hear you guys. So now I'm just going to say this real quick. They were our first celebrity interview from season 1 where we did the Devil to Heart and the fight. And I told the story about this copy here. I told about it on the interview as well. So this is my autographed copy of Skinny Lister, Shanty Punk. This is a great album. We talked about Shanty Punk a little bit.
Canary yellow?
Canary yellow,
Oh,
yeah.
A little bit of red thrown it with a
little bit of
touch
a little red.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes a beat or two ends up in there.
Yeah.
So I am very excited about this. They are currently on tour in Europe. So I'm gonna
Currently
say
on tour with
Frank Turner,
best friend of the podcast,
Frank Turner as well.
Nice.
So I'm sure those guys talk every night about how much fun both of them had doing interviews with the Country Hipster podcast, if they even remember who we are. But so we will not be getting an interview with Skinny Lister on this one because I just know that they don't have time. So I'm not even going to bother them with the request. But this is next week's episode. Very, very excited about it. Will you be in the actual record garage for this? I believe you will.
Yeah.
All right. Good. Okay. I just want to make sure. You know, sometimes we go through changes and schedules change and people change, so sometimes they can't make it into the actual record garage. So I just want to make sure you're going to be here next week.
Changing. You know?
Maybe you'll even be on this side of the table again.
Maybe,
you know?
hopefully, if
I can hear out of my left ear,
if your AIDS gets better.
All right, cool, awesome. So that's going to be fun next week. Skinny Lister, Shanty Punk. Nick, you got anything else to say?
No, as always, was a pleasure being here and talking music.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming up. I know it's a long ride up to the Outsole Record Garage, so
a lot of fun.
Yes,
happy
I'm
to be here.
Very happy you can make it up, and it was a good time. Oh, next week's a mystery beer too, isn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mention that.
It's a mystery beer episode. That's gonna be fun. And Adam, anything else to say about Pink Floyd Animals?
Same as we always say. Listen, form your own opinions.
All right, cool. Well, on that note, it is time to.
Nick, do you want to say it? God damn it, Nick!
Jesus Christ, Jesus, Nick.
Hold on. Let me lean back.
Yeah, lean back a little bit and then say it.
All right, there you go. Go ahead, lean back and say it.
What am I saying?
Move on.
Yeah, of course. We're moving on.
Yeah, totally. Just move on. Move on a little bit.
We'll edit that out, right? Get the money for editing here.